Hey Tophees, today's guest is Kate. She performs at princess parties but also likes acting and writing. We'll explore how to balance her passions and income and what's best for a long-term future. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe and share with others to help the channel grow. Thanks for watching. I'm Topher and this is Financial Fit.
Hey, what's up? My name is Kate Lee Johnston. I'm 23 years old. I live in Los Angeles, California. And honestly, my income is very chaotic. I have to do a lot of twists and turns to add it all up because it comes from so many places. But last year, my approximate calculation was like, I think 55K.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. And I saw you sent me your statements from every dollar. It's a budget app.
Yes. So I use the app Every Dollar. A therapist recommended it to me while I was in college. Just the free version. I just use it to track all of my purchases and like make a plan for how much I'm going to spend on each thing in my life at the beginning of every month. And it's been really helpful for me, honestly, in like keeping track what I spend money on and how much I'm saving.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So let's go down these statements. I have a couple questions to kind of clarify. I know your income is variable. Like you said, you write, you act, you have parties, social media. So based on when you have gigs, you have income coming in. I didn't notice your gas is a bit high. What kind of
That's Los Angeles.
you're driving? Do you drive? How far are you driving usually?
My gas for the past few months has been a bit higher than usual because I've gone up to the Bay Area to visit my cousins. And I do that drive by myself. So it's been worse than usual. But also for princess parties, I have to go all the way to Orange County and I live like near downtown LA. So that's also like an hour there and an hour and a half back sometimes, which is not ideal. But yeah, I spend so much money on gas.
Gotcha. What kind of car do you drive?
I drive a Mercedes.
Okay. Is it a C class or you do S or?
I don't know. My grandmother had it and then she passed away and she passed it down to me. And I know nothing of cars, so I'm just the worst car owner ever. I put the gas in and if it makes problems, I go to the mechanic that I trust and I'm at their mercy.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I did notice your car maintenance is also a bit high. So usually,
Yeah, I had to get a lot of work done at the beginning of this year on it because there was like problems with the brakes and I had to get the oil changed like more than once already this year because I do like long distance driving. So that was such a pain.
Yeah, no, definitely that. Now it makes sense. 'Cause I was like, the gas is high. I know you're driving, but that's a little bit higher than usual. And then maintenance, some of these months were like $500, $600. I'm like, oh, like they get a correction or
Yeah.
what happened. So okay, that makes a
It's
lot of
such a
sense.
burden.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess this kind of, this is an open discussion. I know it's from your grandma, it's kind of sentimental. Have you ever considered, if you wanted to trade it in for a more fuel efficient car? I'm just kind of curious if you thought about that.
I have thought about it. I just have no idea how that would work. And also, like, I have honestly banged up this car a little bit. So I'm not sure like how much it would be worth if I even tried to trade it in.
Gotcha. Yeah, so one thing, I'm gonna take some notes and then at the end of the call, I'll give you some homework, some things to like send to me so I can help you plan for your future. And so one of those things is, figuring out what kind of car it is. And I can kind of do some research, high level of like what it could be worth. I'm not saying you gotta trade it in. It's just we're gonna explore all options because spending $1,000 a month on gas and maintenance for a car is quite high. And also
It's crazy. Yeah.
with these cars, your insurance is also a bit higher too because it's a luxury or German car. So there's a lot of different factors, and of course, just shaving costs away might not help you too much, but in long run it'll help. So just kind of keep open and see what options are. So I'll just ask for that later. One thing with a lot of these budget apps is, for the most part, they categorize pretty well. But it's a couple areas that it hides a little bit. So for example, you have two sections under personal. One's called business and one's called everything else. So just
Yeah.
curious what we know about those two.
So those are just all of my purchases that I don't categorize into essentials. So I have everything planned out for essentials, and then that's like my whatever money, which includes like food and meals, because I'm like, food isn't essential. I like it's such a variable, like how much I spend, because I could live like so long on such few groceries, because I'm very creative, like cooking wise. So I don't like to plan out a certain money on food, a certain amount of money on food every month, because it's just like whatever, and it ends up being such a small part of my budget. I just lump it into everything else because that includes like eating out, which sometimes falls under business because if it's like a business meeting, because like I'm a freelance worker, so I write a lot of stuff off on my taxes, not gonna lie. It's like, I buy like supplies and like I'm an actor, so I purchase like casting website fees and upload fees and like audition equipment and things like that and things that can be written off. And so when I buy something like that, I put it under business. And when I have like, a business lunch or like parking for a set or anything like set related, I think there was one month where I was actually producing a set and I did some camera rentals and that went under business as well.
Yeah, I saw
That's all stuff I got reimbursed for. And I think I should have accounted for that in like production reimbursements and income for next month or whatever. But yeah, anything like that I put under business. And then anything fun, like a meal with a friend or like going out for drinks or like groceries, which is not that fun, but I guess like I just put it under that category. That's everything else.
Okay. So I guess this ballpark, how much do you think you're spending on food each month, both for business and for personal and groceries?
I really don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one thing to kind of look into. I know you're writing things off, but it's the same as like you go to a store and they're like, oh, you look at your receipt, you saved $20 or 20 cents, whatever it is, right? And it's the more you spend, the more you save. But, just because you write it off doesn't mean you're saving money. It just, you save some from the taxes later on. So
yeah. The thing about groceries is that I'm also on food stamps, which those purchases I don't put in my budgeting app because like that's money that they give me that I can't spend on anything else. So it's like it seems like it's like a separate account for me. And so there aren't a lot of grocery purchases on my budgeting app. Most of that I use my food stamps for.
Gotcha. And for food stamps, do you know at what threshold you would not get food stamps anymore?
I have to make over a certain amount per month to not get food stamps, but I almost never reach that because it's only things that are like reported.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I would say, just kind of monitor that for now. I had some friends that had food stamps and then they hit the threshold and then their budget went crazy. I also have friends that, same as you, to get food stamps, but they want to kind of treat themselves. So sometimes the food stamps, as long as food, you can use it. So they're buying like lobster tails and like
oh, I do that
and stuff like that.
But I never run out.
Yeah.
Like, they give me way more than I can spend every month because I also like I don't buy a ton of groceries. Like I don't snack a lot,
Right.
and I cook like pretty simple things. Like I'm making like vegetables and rice like most of the time. So it ends up being pretty cheap.
Gotcha. Okay.
But then like sometimes I'll be like, yes, give me the squid.
No, I feel you. I mean, sometimes they have a sale or you just feel like seafood. So yeah, definitely that, everyone's got to live a little bit. So yeah, as long as, you can afford it, it's good. Just for your own sake, having an idea of how much you spend on food, just because, one day you might not be on food stamps anymore. One day you might have dependents. I'm not sure you want to have family one day. So just knowing like ballpark how much food costs. I have friends where we talk about how much we go to grocery stores in a week and the cost we spend. And some would range to like a couple $100 a week. And others, it's, under $100. So it's like, what are you buying and where are you spending? And it's drastically different amongst everybody. So there's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, that makes sense with, your food, your budget for businesses, your business expenses are under this category. So I think overall, you're not spending too much. I mean, it's a lot for business. It doesn't sound like you're shopping unnecessarily or, spending $200 a week on groceries. One thing I would just recommend for the app is that sometimes things might not be categorized correctly. So you just kind of monitor that. But the second thing is, if you're checking if some expenses are not yours. So for example, are you using a debit card or credit card for most of your expenses?
Mostly credit card.
Okay. And do you have your credit card kind of set up in like automatic payments? Do you know like how much?
No, I do everything manually. So even the app, like I put in every purchase manually. I don't have them like categorize things for me because I am like so OCD about how things are categorized. I have diagnosed myself, TBH, but I'm pretty sure I am because I can't, if something is like miscategorized, I can't stand it.
Gotcha. Okay.
It needs to be correct no matter what.
Okay.
And so I do that all manually. And then when credit card statements come up, like they email me, they're like, your payment is due. And I go in and I pay it like myself and I review every single purchase. So I know that every single purchase is like something I did and not a scam because I'm so like paranoid about people scamming me and charging me for things that I'm not monitoring because I want to like save money. Like for example, I almost got scammed a few weeks ago. Like I signed up for this website that I thought was legit It was like a travel thing. And then they took my money. It was
Mhm.
$60. And because I like meticulously check every single day, I was like, this isn't something I did. And so I had to get that credit card canceled. But luckily they sent me a new one because I was like, I cannot risk my stuff being compromised.
Gotcha. No, that's good to hear. Yeah, I think a lot of people use their credit card or even debit card. Fraud, scammers, they can get access to your accounts, and before you know it, you're getting charged on things that's not yours. What happens a lot is they might get your credit card number. They might charge small things like maybe Netflix or Hulu, so that they think you might already be doing, and then slowly increase that from $10 a month to $20 a month to 100, knowing you're not going to catch it. And by the time you catch it, you can still get, reimbursed, but they're hoping you don't catch it. So it's good you're reviewing it and paying it off. I would still recommend you can still set up automatic payments on your credit card just to avoid any, late payments. Maybe 1 month you're just so busy, you forget to check your email and you don't check, your expenses. And you can automatically pay it off. And then later that month, you can review everything. I think within, 2 to 3 months, you can just review all your expenses, and then if something looks off, then you can contact your credit card company and they reimburse you for that. But once it's like 6 months, a year, it gets a bit tougher, and usually they're charging you a lot by then. So that's a small tip, but categorizing yourself, do it manually. I love it. That's a great way to go. So yeah, so expenses look okay. I think the car item we talked about, we'll talk more later about how to monitor that. Because I had friends, they buy, BMW, Mercedes, and before you know it, it's like a 2,000 car bill, and they're like, Chris, what should I do? And I'm like, well, I told you, you should have researched if you want to switch your car or trade it in before this happened. Usually the cars, after, the 3-year warranty, it starts getting more expensive. So, I'll write a note for you later to check those things, the year of the car, type of car, mileage, and then if there's still warranty or not. And then we'll kind of figure out how to budget for that going forward. But overall, I think your expenses, look pretty good. Looks like you're living within your means in terms of your rent and your food and all of that. So let's dive into more future. So Kate, like, what's your kind of life goal? Like, if money wasn't the biggest objective, you just want to enjoy life, what would it look like? Is it acting? Is it traveling? Do you have some way off different passion project you're going to work on? Like, what's Kate's ultimate goal?
It's kind of a mix of all the things you mentioned. I'm so into history and writing and art in all of its forms. I like want to write things and make them and just put them out into the world, but unfortunately that's like the least profitable thing you could ever do. You have to like often invest money into that in order to make it happen, which I have to work, sadly. So instead I do other people's projects. Like I act in them, I produce for them, I like do freelance writing for like different publications. But if it were up to me and I had all this money, I would just have my own production company and make my own stuff, which I do have a company, but I haven't made anything with it yet. I just have it registered because I know that one day I want to. And I am in the process of like making really small stuff with friends that like their projects they're investing in, and like kind of helping them out on that, so that eventually like I have the necessary tools and experience to do my own things.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would really love to do that one day. Even like not even just like film, it's like writing a novel. Like I want to write novels. I want to like, I don't know, write scripts, just anything artistically that calls to me.
Gotcha. Just kind of ballpark, say you want to do a small time to write or some small production. How much would you budget for like the smaller scale and then for a lot bigger?
It depends what kind of production it is.
So
For
ones,
film,
yeah, the ones you want to do.
okay, well, I want to do all of them, but
Yeah, maybe steps.
I know about some of them.
Okay.
So I know for film, like a good short for something I want to make would at least cost me a couple thousand. So
Okay.
not that bad, but I don't really want to make shorts. I want to make feature length films. I
Okay.
have one that I've written that I really want to make. In order to accomplish what I want to accomplish, it would cost me around 50K. I obviously do not have that. It would take investors, which are really hard to get in this
Right.
business. But that's an eventual goal of mine, to make that film. And that's like the least amount of money I could spend on it. Like, and I've talked to a lot of industry people about it. Like I want to make like a horror comedy, and I went to like an indie horror comedy that was playing in theaters, and the directors were there, producers were there. I was like, how much did it cost you? They're like, 50K. So I was like, okay, that's what I can do to make it that quality. And even like talking to friends, because I went to film school, it would be around that, but probably a little bit more, but that's like the minimum spend. And then for writing a novel, I mean, it wouldn't cost me much to do the actual production of that, because it just comes from me. So that would just be a matter of like paying off all my living expenses so I can sit down and do writing all the time, which is impossible to do right now. Like one of my heroes, Hanya Yanagihara, I have a poster of her book right there, but moving my finger. She is such an inspiration to me. She worked like a boring desk job, but every night she said she went home and she wrote that novel, A Little Life, for hours and hours after every workday in like a fugue state into the night. And eventually after years it was done. And it's like, I believe the greatest novel of all time. It's like 900 pages. And I can only dream of doing that one day when I get home, because I work like such long hours. I'm exhausted. I can't possibly do that, even though I try. Like I try to keep up with my writing, but it's so hard. And I feel like for me, realistically right now, if I wanted to do that, I would have to like give up some other jobs, because I don't have the strength that Hanya Yanagihara has, no matter how much I want to.
Right. No, definitely. Now, I do think, because I work a desk job, like some jobs could be a bit more cushy where you're not using your full brain power. Some days a little bit lighter versus, you're out and about driving everywhere, acting, you got to put your full energy into it. So definitely at the end of the day, you come back and you're exhausted. So I definitely get what you're saying. But I guess ballpark for the novel that you want to write next, you think it's like 100 hours or maybe 300 hours? What do you think?
It's a full-time job.
Okay, so you think
I would treat it like a full-time job.
Okay, so it'll be like a whole year just writing one novel, you think?
Yeah, even longer. Novels, I mean, it depends how into it I get. Writing is such a process that you have to discover along the way, because I have really big ideas. I have like when I do something, I want to do it really well, and I want to put everything I have into it. And knowing me, like I get into research rabbit holes, and like I get so into it that it could take years.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm taking some notes. So it sounds like your life goal, if you want to do a short film, it's about 5K. But you want to do a feature film, which at minimum is 50K. And the next level to write a novel would probably take you full time. So there's no side gigs, maybe a little bit here and there, but you will need to have like all your expenses covered and you can just write your novel. I think kind of baby step wise, I think a feature film sounds like you have a script already to go, right? And maybe you get throughout the next year or so, but you gotta find that 50K somehow. So maybe that's gonna be our first target goal. Would you say that's accurate for you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to here. Okay, so we'll go to 50K is our goal. So let's go into savings. So I do see you have some savings here, and you have a emergency fund you've been building up. So right now, roughly, what's your savings, you would say, and emergency fund?
I save, as a rule, 10% of every paycheck that I get, which I know it should be higher, but that's just like what I can do right now to be able to live the way I want to. I guess I could make it higher. I'm just being lazy, but I feel good about how much I have right now. I have like 16K, which I got out of college a year and a half ago. And so I feel like decent about that. But obviously, like my goal for the end of the year is to get to 20, which I feel like is realistic.
Very doable. Yes. Yeah, I think you can do that. Okay. So about 16K in savings. And then is that the same as your emergency fund, or is that a separate account?
That's the same thing.
Okay, gotcha. And right now, is it just on your bank account right now, or do you invest it right now?
I don't invest.
Okay.
One time I was told to invest and I lost $1,000 right away. And I said, nah.
Do you know
investing is really hard when you live dollar to dollar, because it's like, oh my God, how can this be worth it? Like $1,000 is gone.
Yeah. Do you know what you invested in? Was that a stock or?
I invested in CRO, the cryptocurrency.
Okay. Yeah. Crypto is the markets right now for crypto, if you follow it, is not very good. It's starting to recover a little bit, but I'm guessing you invested in the peak of it, where everyone's talking about it, and you got some FOMO, and you said, I got $1,000, let me just try it out. And then they had a rug pull, basically, where it's just everyone lost money. So definitely I would recommend, just for now, be open to it. More of a low risk investing model. So in a scale of risk, there's keeping money in your bank account, which you're doing right now. You're getting probably 0.1% interest. So that's $16. After the year passes, it might be like $10 more. The problem though is that inflation's a lot higher. So your buying power is lower. So for example, for easy numbers, when you go to McDonald's for a dollar menu, back in like 10 years ago, you get something that's $1, right? But now the dollar is weaker. You have to buy a burger and now it's like $1.50. It's kind of the same case where inflation is making your money and your bank account be weaker. But that's the lowest risk. Your money's always there. The next level is you might invest in what's called like a CD or like a high yield savings account.
I have a high yield savings account.
Okay. Do you know which one it's with? Is it with
Discover?
Discover. And then do you have money into that, or is that
That's where all my savings are.
Okay. That's good. Okay. So what percentage do you get for that? Like 3 or 4%?
Something like that. It ends up being like more than I expect every month. I kind of forget that it's there. And then it's like, here's $40 for this month. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
For nothing? I didn't do anything.
That's investing. So yeah, so I'm great to hear you're using a high yield savings account. So yeah, I mean, let's just do some quick math. So just pull my calculator real quick. I'm guessing it's like 4% annualized. So if you have 16,000, then it's probably gonna be.
See, that kind of stuff I don't account for in my budgeting app, because my budgeting app, I deal with like my purchases and my income, whereas savings, like I never want to touch it. So I'm like, it's just there and I'm not counting it as income because that's just gonna be there. I'm not ever gonna use it until I need to.
Yeah, no, it sounds about right. You're getting about 3 to 4%. So $40 a month sounds about right. So that's good. You're at least doing the next level of saving. I would say the next step would be this for now is being open-minded to going to the stock market. Now, I'm not saying you should buy individual stock, same as buying CR and crypto. It's high risk, high reward. But high risk means it can go down and you just lose all your money. What we recommend is going into what we call mutual funds or just stock funds. Basically, instead of buying one stock and it goes up or down, you're directly impacted like a lot. You might have a group of funds where maybe 5 go up and 5 go a little bit down, but across the board still going up. Most people recommend what's called the S&P 500, which is ideally the top 500 stocks or companies in the stock market. So if you think about it that way, if you're investing in the top 500 stocks or companies in the US, then they're probably good companies versus some startup that's like just started yesterday and they're not part of this 500. There's a lot less risk, and you don't need to think about which stocks to pick. You just gotta put in one fund and let it sit there. Historically, it's been 7% a year in appreciation versus your high yield savings about 3%. So it is double, but there is more risk with it. But since you're so young, you can take on more risk now until you know when you need it. So for example, say you want to save up to do this feature film and you need 50K. If you did the math where it's like every year you save 5 to 10,000 and then you invest it and historically it goes up say 7%, you could probably get the 50K, I would say, in like 2 to 3 years and increase your income maybe in 2 years. I don't think it's too crazy. And we're mapped out the Excel spreadsheets of getting there. And we'll also talk about having a buffer too, because you don't want to save 50K and then let's blow it all. You probably want to save 70K, knowing that you need at least 50 for your film, keep 20 for reserves, and then as the ball gets rolling, you see, oh, I need more money, and then you can kind of adjust from there. So that's kind of how I'm thinking of making your money work for you. You can think of it another way is right now, a lot of people, they trade their time for money. So they have a job, they have gigs, they trade their time for money. Whereas you look at all these, big investors or the billionaires, a lot of them, they had a business where money was working for them, or they leverage people, which is a whole nother story of, having all these workers making money. But a lot of investors, they invest in the stock market or a business, and over time, the value goes up and it generates money for them. So when you sleep, you make money versus only working, trading time for money, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of right now, just be open to it. There's also special investment accounts where it's tax deferred. For example, there's one called the IRA. So it's retirement. It stands for individual retirement account. And when you put money into here, it's tax deferred. And we can talk more in the future. But essentially, most times when you invest, you get your paycheck. It's taxed. You invest it, and then when you pull the money out, it appreciates. So you pay taxes on the money you made. So you're taxed twice on your paycheck, and when you pull your investment out. So it's twice. Whereas these special accounts, you only pay taxes on one or the other. So maybe you get taxed on your paycheck, but then when the money grows and you pull it out, there's no taxes on that. Or you're not taxed on your paycheck, and then you invest money, and once the money increases, then you're taxed later on. So it's before or after versus both times. But in your case, if you want to put the money out for a feature film, you just gotta make sure you balance of trying to retire, but also pursue your passion, because we don't want to, we don't want you to be old and not pursue your passions. I mean, you have a lot of retirement money, but we don't want you to be retired with no money either. So we gotta find that balance between both of them. That's what we'll talk more over this the course of this year. Another thing to think about is, kind of figuring out what you can do now to reach this feature film quicker. So it sounds like you're already working, you're picking up gigs here and there. You're writing off a lot of things for your business. Your costs are low from food. But maybe we can just brainstorm for a minute on what you can do to increase your income. So based on everything you've been doing, so you have, you help with parties, social media, which one do you think is the most lucrative for your time? Like, is it today when you had a princess party? I don't know, is it like 5 hours?
Definitely not. Princess parties are not top tier, because you get paid decently per hour, but you're only paid for the party hour. You're not paid for like the travel and the costume pickup and the preparation, which ends up being so long.
So could you charge more?
Most of my day.
Well, you think you charge more? Would they still book you or no?
I work for a company,
Okay.
a few different companies actually, and they have a pretty set rate.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so I guess right now, what do you think would be the biggest bang for your time?
Probably writing. I freelance and I usually charge $29 an hour, which is not that much, but it's just writing, so I'm just in my room.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing stuff. Like I don't have to go anywhere, and going places and trying to plan around that is the biggest waste of time that there is.
I see. So even though Christmas parties, you might get a couple hundred for the whole party, it's like the whole day versus you're writing and you're at home, and then it's less per hour, but you're just at home, not wasting 3 hours for prep and driving. So, okay, that makes sense. How would you find a way to maybe increase your writing clientele? Like, is it a company that gives?
It's just a matter of doing more of it, really. My problem is I want to like do so much all the time, even if it's like not the most financially correct move. Like if I get a cool gig, I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome, I'm gonna do it. And it's like, yeah, sitting at home writing would make me more, but I want the experience more.
Gotcha. I mean, you gotta find a balance. Like maybe you go out for the gig and maybe you network and then you find friends to help you later on. So I definitely get that. I guess what's the kind of balance between the two? Like, is it you're getting these gigs every week instead of writing, or is it like every day, or is it every month? Like, I'm just kind
Almost every day, and it's crazy because sometimes there are off months where I'm booking nothing, and I'm like, oh, okay. But then like this year, something about this year, like acting has been so busy, and it's about to be less busy right now, but there's a lot going on. Right. But so far, like this year, it's been nonstop. Like I was in 3 musicals in the past few months, which like musicals are amazing. I love them. Can't complain. It's what I want to do, but they pay shit. Right. It's like, I go from $29 to $15 an hour at best. Sometimes it's just a stipend, and I'm like, it sucks financially, but I'm gonna do it for the artistic experience,
Right. Well, definitely that makes sense. I think okay, you said the gigs come out. I mean, right now there's a writer's strike going on. So how's that affect you right now?
I mean, there's just not a lot of acting work going on, but there's been, so I like completed the gigs that I did, and the strike just started, so I don't have anything lined up for the next few months. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But up until this point, there's been a lot. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because looking at this, so say you have a similar year as last year to this year. So say you make 55
maybe with inflation it goes to 60. And then, you have some expenses here and there. And last year you said you saved about 10%. So it's about like, 5 grand. So this year, maybe you save 6 grand, maybe a bit more. And then maybe if you open an investment account, you can make some money while you're sleeping. Like say your goal is to do the feature film in, 2 to 3 years, then maybe you get there if you can save a bit more and do that. How much more do you think would work if you gave up, I don't know, some experiences to just write more, maybe increase your income from like 60 to 80?
Yeah, that is what I want to do.
Okay.
I've been thinking a lot about that, honestly. Like I've had some friends give me advice. It's like, why do you do so many of these shit paying acting jobs? It's like at this point you have enough credits, you have enough footage, you have enough experience, like you don't need to do them anymore. But I just think I really need to shift my mindset because I'm like so new out of college, and I got the advice in college that like honestly the way to succeed is as an actor is just to act in literally everything, like even if it pays nothing. And like some people feel really strongly about that because it's how you get like your passion is discovered or whatever. But then some people are like, no, that's a waste of your time, like you're a professional, you need to get paid for your work. And I really like fluctuate between the two because I'm like, I do think that my work and my rigor in acting, because it's not about talent necessarily, like I feel like I'm talented, but I work really hard, and the effort that I put into the projects like is definitely sometimes not worth what they're paying me. Like I got paid $100 a day a few months ago to do a feature film, and I put so much work into it. Obviously it's a feature film, I was the lead, but it's like so unacceptable that it was $100 a day, but I did it because like it's gonna be good footage for me, I know, and I think it's good practice, whatever. I wanted to work with the people. It was more like a favor, honestly, but it definitely was just like if I stayed home and did writing, I would have made way more than that. But I felt like I wanted to for whatever reason. But I want to do less of that kind of stuff moving forward. Definitely. I think that's really good advice.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I think what we can do is we can make two different budgets and like timelines on, if you did these gigs, like say you did 30% gigs and 20% writing, what your income would be and how you would progress for your savings versus if you just did a lot more writing. So we kind of, gauge between the two and see the outcomes. And you can look at it and say like, okay, if I did this in 3 years, I'm here, or I'm here in 6 years or 5 years. So we can kind of, help you decide which way you want to go. The other question I had was, let's say you did have 50K right now, or an investor gave you 50K, and that's the minimum for your future film. Do you think right now you have the skill set to run it right now?
I definitely do. I just don't know if I have the will to, because honestly, like putting in 50K of my own money into this film seems like not a good idea. I do want to pursue getting investors for it. I feel like if I had 50K right now, I would buy property, or I put down payment on property and I would rent it out.
Okay, no, I like your answer for that. Okay, let's go into that a little bit. So, 'cause I'm also a real estate investor. I think everyone that's rich or wealthy right now, they have real estate or a business, and I've learned that late in life. But I do like what you're thinking. 50K, a lot of people think it's not a lot, but you can start somewhere and then work your way up. And as you build equity, then you can use that to buy more property and snowball. So I definitely like what your answer there. I'm gonna write this down because that's something we can kind of explore too, where maybe right now you get your feet wet with investing in the stock market, buying low cost funds. That's a group of stocks, and kind of get some money from there. And then when you're ready to buy real estate, you're going to sell your index funds or your stock and then move into real estate. That's kind of what I did. And the mindset shift was a big deal because up to that point, I never sold my investments, my stock. I always kept putting money into it. So when I had to sell it to buy that real estate, I was like, this looks weird because usually I put money and don't take money out. But then I knew where it was going to go. So I'm going to put it down here where, I think real estate is a good goal to have. And I think once we kind of stabilize on the first homework that we have, then we can kind of explore, okay, like to buy real estate, what does it look like? And we can explore timetable for that. So I guess if we stick more towards investors for the feature film.
Yeah. I feel like I should change my goal. Like I do want to make the film, but I feel like it's not smart of me to like use my own money for that right now. I feel like before that, my goal would be to invest in property so I can like have some income that is more stable and I'm not like constantly working for it.
Hmm.
So then I can like start working toward those more fun, bigger goals using that income.
Yeah, so definitely. That's a good goal. I think just kind of mapping out your milestones. And of course, everyone's goals change. So we might talk about something next time and you're like, we're gonna scrap all of that and we want something different. So that's definitely, okay. I'm not saying you gotta stick to one goal forever. And this is for the film, like over time, you see how that works. I know I had some not friends, but as colleagues, they did some Kickstarters for funding and that's like crowdsourcing and that's something maybe the next 3 to 5 years, you do something where, social media, you're a lot bigger. And then as you grow a following, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this project and raising money. I'm not sure it's going to be a GoFundMe or Kickstarter, but I have seen some film projects go on Kickstarter or crowdfunding and they raise some money. But the real estate item, have you looked into potentially moving? I know Atlanta, it's bigger in, showbiz now because the land's cheaper and New York and LA is so expensive. Have you thought about potentially moving to another city or another state to do real estate, but also there's some acting as well and gigs that you can do?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I'm just pretty set on LA right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I
yeah.
don't know. If I were to move right now, I would move to Asia. I'm part Vietnamese and my sister lives in South Korea right now doing modeling. And she says, if I move there, I could easily sign with an agency because you don't have to be 5'9". I'm 5'8". So I've never like gotten that into modeling here. My sister's 5'10", so she's a model. In Asia, the girls are shorter.
Yeah.
So I could just sign with an agency and start working. And so if I wanted to move and LA got too expensive and like, how am I ever going to get out of this? I would do that.
Okay. No, okay, that's interesting. You thought a lot about your future. So that's really great to hear. Yeah, I mean, I was actually in South Korea a few years ago before the pandemic, and then I'm actually going to Vietnam in a couple of months. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
When?
I think I fly out in July.
I will literally be there in June. So we will have just missed each other.
Oh, gotcha. Are you there first for family and visit your sister, or?
Yeah, I'm visiting my sister in South Korea and then I'm visiting some family in Vietnam.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a very interesting concept. Like say you're a writer. Now I know LA is the place to be. I mean, I'm born and raised in LA, so I get it. It's definitely tough, but I have explored living in other countries. Maybe not buying property in other countries because I'm only a US citizen, but rent's a lot lower, and so you got US wages, then the dollar goes a lot further in other countries. Well, you can kind of save, but I mean, we're basically gonna plan out different scenarios, and you just gotta pick like this one right now. I like a lot. Like I'm young, I want to do this one, and this might not help me get to my goal as quickly, but I want to do this one, knowing that if you want to switch gears later on, then if you did X instead of Y, then you'd be here. So that's kind of where I'm thinking it's going to lead to, because I don't want to tell you here's what you gotta do. I don't want to boss you around. None of that. It's more like here's options and here's outcomes potentially, and then you can kind of pick. But I really like how you kind of already explored where you could live, because LA, your rent's not too high, so I think that's okay. But definitely when I invest in something, I live in LA, I invest out of state. But if you did move somewhere, then it'd be pretty cheap too. I'm guessing right now you have roommates. Is that?
Yeah, I have 3 roommates and my room is tiny, but I'm from New York. And so I actually really like the small room vibes. Like I don't have a lot of stuff and I make it really cute and cozy. Like I put up this wallpaper.
Yeah, no, that's
Like,
nice.
yes, it looks kind of shitty, but like I like the DIY, like shitty look, you know?
No, definitely. I think your priorities are very, in good order. Like I like how you're not spending a lot of money on materialistic things. You're pursuing art. You're being smart with your savings, with your food and all that, and then you're also thinking about investing in real estate, which I think is great. It's great that you're only 23 and already thinking about this, because I didn't think about it until like I was almost 30. So definitely it's good you start ahead and plan for how to acquire that in the future. So
I mean, I think it also caused me a lot of angst though. Like I agree it's a good thing to think about, but then I go on Zillow and I'm like, holy shit. Like how am I ever gonna do this?
yeah, no, I mean something to think about, because this show I got a lot of inspiration from Ramit's show, How to Get Rich on Netflix. I thought about doing this for a long time, but once I watched his, I'm like, dude, I was thinking about the same exact thing, and my curriculum is almost the same as his. I haven't seen his, but we talked about, I mean, finance, like all knowledge is already existing. It's just everyone provides it or presents it differently. So one big thing that he talked about, which I also tell people is, home ownership, the American dream. A lot of people fall for that trap where you buy a house in LA, it's $1 million. It's going to be 6,000, 7,000 a month, like forever, like for 30 years, right? The way mortgages work, same as car loans, they're amortized, which basically means that in the beginning of your payments, it's mainly interest, not principal. So for easy numbers, say you take out a loan for $1 million and for 30 years. After 5 years of paying your mortgage, you might think that, oh, I should only have maybe 950,000 left in loans to pay, but it might just be like it might still be pretty high. It might be like 980 because most of your payments in the beginning is interest. Once you get to the end of the loan, then it's principal, and that's what gets people caught up in being in debt forever because they buy a home, which is why a lot of people, I think it's okay to just rent where you live and you can invest elsewhere to make some money. And as your investments appreciate and rents go up, your rent that you pay might also go up, but then they're kind of cancel out. So then you can just travel and then have income for your rent. So being open to that is good because I had a lot of friends buy houses this year and last year. And I was like, man, I know you can afford it, but that's a lot of money. Imagine you had 6,000 each month. Instead of going to mortgage, you can pay off your rent, and then you have your bills, and you have like 3,000 to 4,000 extra each month. You can do a lot of stuff with that, right? That's a lot of money. So
yeah, like save up for not having to have that kind of payment later on.
Yeah, exactly. So
like my goal is to never take out a loan.
Okay.
Because I think it's just going to be disastrous. I didn't take out student loans. I got a scholarship. I'm like, I see people struggling to pay them off. I'm like, could not be me. I need to never do that because it makes me so crazy thinking about paying for things unnecessarily. And to me, interest payments are like the top most unnecessary thing ever. I'm like, why do I need to do that? I'm not giving my money to that.
Yeah, I'm definitely, and I definitely vibe with you on that. I would say though, for a lot of houses, you most likely wouldn't take a loan on that just because, you're gonna have.
I'll do personal loans. I'll find some rich friends and I'll be like, hey, I'll see. I like the idea of, I'm not against loans in general, but I need to take them from people who I trust not to fuck me over.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Like, say, so you want to buy a house for say $500,000 and you need $500,000 and they loan you this money. How much interest do you think they would charge you for that and be okay with giving to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would not buy a $500,000 house unless I'm pretty financially stable, like more so than I am now.
Right.
And so I wouldn't be in that position unless I had some money to spend.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll just say, because even though you go to a bank for a loan, there's also people that lend money, private lenders. Most people, I guess it depends on how good a friend they are, but a lot of them, they don't want to lose money either. So if they can get a loan and have someone pay 5%, and the bank's interest is also 5 or 6%, it'll probably be very similar. I think the main difference is that if you do a loan with a friend, one, you'll have a rich friend, and then two, some people, they have some kind of they feel some type of way when they owe someone money that they know personally, versus some bank, which is just a name on a building. So it's something to think about. But I think the main takeaway is that yes, loans that you don't know how to manage the risk is bad. If you know how to manage the risk for a loan, like you have other savings, you can pay it off if you did X, Y, and Z, then be okay with. But you look at all the wealthy people, and this people that are maybe 5-10 years ahead of you. A lot of them take out loans for things that they know what to do with it, and how to mitigate some risk. So just be open to that, and we can weigh our options in the future as well.
Yeah, you're right. I'll probably end up having to. I just hate the idea because I'm like, interest? No, you should just trust me.
Yeah.
Just trust me. I'm gonna give you the money. I don't want to pay interest.
Yeah, it's just because you gotta to get a zero interest loan, that's something. The only people I know that got some zero interest loans it's from their parents, and then they pay them back. So, I mean, not everyone has rich parents, so they can't do that. So I'm not.
Yeah, I
That's not
can't
really
do
an
that.
option. But as long as you know it's going to produce money greater than the interest, then and you know how to mitigate any other risk, then I think it's okay. So real estate is going to appreciate more than interest, and or cash flow more than interest. Then I think we're good on that. Yeah, and we'll talk more about that later on too. But yeah, so I think overall, I think I got some good notes. I'm gonna send you, some homework and something to look at, and then we'll try to figure out which path you want to take, at least for now. And if you want, pivot later, we can. But overall, it's just, trying to make more money, trying to figure out where our expenses are going. So mainly for the car, and then next steps to kind of start saving more so we can invest in the stock market through mutual funds or index funds, and then use that money into get a real estate. The sooner the better, because real estate is going to keep going up and up, and if
Mm-hmm.
you're not, catching up with other people, then it'd be a lot more tough. So that's kind of where I think we'll go from here. But any questions right now, or things that you think is important that I should know to kind of help you out?
No, I mean, that all sounds really good to me and like really in line with my goals. I feel like my problem is I know what I want. I just don't really know how to get there. Like, I feel like I think that's everyone's problem. But specifically, like, I am very interested in doing like the mutual funds or whatever, but I know literally nothing about investing. I don't even know where to begin in doing that. And so help on that is like so appreciated and welcome. And even though I lost all my money investing one time, I am still definitely open to it.
Yeah, yeah, okay, no, that's great to hear. And I would say crypto and investing to me is kind of not the best in the same sentence. And if you bought crypto in the past, 5 years, it was basically gambling, because, it's all this big wealthy investors, or we call them whales, pushing the price up, or the founders of that coin, cryptocurrency, pushing the price up. Everyone's like, oh, I should invest into it, and then everyone gets FOMO, and then they're like, oh, now they made millions off people, and they, full of money, and investors all lose money. So I would say it's almost equivalent to going to, Vegas casino and you put in $1,000 on red or black. It's kind of how I would say crypto. Whereas the stock market, it's
Yeah.
proven. The stock market's been around for decades and decades, and people made a lot of money off of the stock market from investing, not gambling. We're going for a low risk approach, long-term investing, no day trading, no trying to ride a wave and make a lot of money in one day. It's slowly but surely over the months, over the years, seeing that amount go up, and then putting more money to invest more.
Yes, that's so much better than what I did. I thought that was what I was doing. I had told me to invest in CRO, and I was like, this guy is smart. His business, so he has to be like really smart about like saving in his money and it's like whatever in order to have, because he's very lucrative. My friends use the same. And so I was like, if he tells me to invest in CRO, like he probably knows what he's talking about. And of course I lost all my money, and then he got arrested.
Oh
And
no.
so I trusted the wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because no one knew the crypto was gonna crash that hard. I mean, I kind of had a feeling, but when Bitcoin got to like, I don't know, it was like $50,000 or $60,000, I was like, it's gonna crash. Like, there's no one really using this. It's all inflated.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
This came out fun too. Well, have a great rest of your Sunday, and get some rest from your princess party, and then we'll talk soon.
All right, cool. Talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.
It's great to hear that Kate is also interested in real estate investing. I think most of the wealthy people today own a business and or real estate. Since Kate already has a budget, savings, and no debt, I would just recommend her to review levels 1 through 5. For the most part, work on level 1, vivid vision, and figure out what your end goal is. This would give her more clarity, whether to make more money right now so that she can invest sooner and then live off of the investment income for her passions, or to have more fun and for her passions right now for less money, but she might not make enough money to invest later. Since Kate already budgets, is not in a lot of debt, and has at least $5,000 in savings, she can just review levels 6 through 8, then focus on level 9 and 10 to figure out her financial plan. This will help her determine where to invest in, whether to invest in real estate, a feature film, or something else. Next, we gotta learn more about the car she inherited. We gotta figure out the model, the year, and the mileage to figure out the value of the car and to weigh her options. I understand that it's a family car and there's some sentimental value around that. However, $400 a month on gas, a few hundred a month on maintenance, and high insurance for her car is her main expenses right now. We just gotta weigh her options if it makes sense to trade in her car for a more fuel-efficient car to save on maintenance, gas, and insurance. Next, in level 6 advanced budget, Kate needs to play around with different income amounts. For example, I can spend more time on high-paying gigs, so more money per hour including prep and driving time. This might be writing, or there might be other options not explored yet. Lastly, to be open to open a brokerage account to start investing. Yes, she lost $1,000 in crypto, but I consider that more gambling than investing. She's going to keep about $5,000 in her high-yield savings account as an emergency fund, and then invest the rest. I recommend Vanguard brokerage because they have some of the lowest fees. And historically, the S&P 500 index fund had more returns than a high-yield savings account. Overall, Kate is around level 8 and can easily become levels 11 through 15 by the end of this year. Notice that even though Kate is only 23 years old and not making over 6 figures in a high cost of living area, Los Angeles, she is still out of debt, saving, and has a budget. Because of the strong foundation, she can start exploring investing and figuring out a plan that fits her lifestyle and personal finance goals.